It would be fantastic to do something like that, you know.
Swear at the jockeys.
Yeah.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Should I say welcome or welcome back? A little preview of me there in the open. Seth Merrow in here, Racing Across America on a Sunday morning. Happy to be in here. A little sloppy outside, driving down the Northway, traffic a little light. If you go out this morning, just be careful. I guess around noontime, temperatures are going to go up to around 40, and it's going to turn more to rain. But if you're out this morning, just want to alert you, be a little careful. The roads are a little bit slick out there in the capital Saratoga area. Want to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park, champions start here. And again, we'll do a little recap of some of the nice action from yesterday and some handicapping and whatnot. But I also want to alert you to promos and events coming up today here at the Clubhouse Racebook Win-A-Bet contest. So come on down, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Love to see you down here. Watch all the horse racing action. If there are ball games on that you want to see, you can catch them as well. Grab some lunch if you'd like to, but the $100 Win-A-Bet contest also available today here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. 1% bonus on your Aqueduct wagers continues on this Sunday afternoon. Keep that in mind. If you're playing Aqueduct with your Capital OTB account, you can check out the website for all the rules and restrictions for the bonus. Also, check out the Tourney Bets link. Keep pushing that because I think you'll find it's a lot of fun. If you click on the Tourney Bets link on capitalotb.com, you will find a nice schedule of upcoming tournaments, different price points. There are actually some free tournaments that will be available. There's a chance for a seat at the NHC National Handicapping Championship out in Vegas. Just swing by, check it out, check the rundown and the calendar and whatnot. And as I say, jump in and give it a shot. I think you'll have some fun. Coming up this week, also want to keep you apprised so you can mark the calendar. Bounty Bet returns on Friday. $1,500 plus as far as the bounty. So it's going to be the Aqueduct Late Pick 4 this coming Friday. All you have to do is play with your Capital OTB bet account, and you're in with a shot for all or part of that $1,525. That's Friday, the bounty bet returns. And again, just so you can mark your calendar, Uncle Sam's Lanes, there's going to be a bankroll coming up on Saturday, next Saturday, the 16th. Keep that in mind. Should be a lot of fun. The bankrolls, the on-the-road bankrolls here at the Clubhouse are a lot of fun. The on-the-road bankrolls are a lot of fun as well. Sully will be at the Uncle Sam Lanes next Saturday with a little bit of a bankroll. So if you're out that way, certainly want to swing by, see if you can get on the bankroll team. All right, that catches us up with promos here at Capital. And you can always go to the website for an update on promos and events as well. Again, nice day of racing yesterday. There was action at Aqueduct with the Gotham highlighting things. Out at Turfway, the Jeff Ruby Stakes, Grade 3 event for the 3-year-olds. Also has the potential to play in the Derby scene with the synthetic track out there. It's not as sure a thing, perhaps, as places like Aqueduct with the Gotham, and yesterday Tampa Bay with the Tampa Bay Derby. So we'll hit on some of that stakes action here in the opening segment. Towards the bottom of the hour, we'll be joined by our friend Steve Byk. He was at Tampa yesterday, so I'm going to kick things off looking at Aqueduct, and we'll also look at that Jeff Ruby Stakes at Turfway. But we'll save the Tampa Bay Derby and some of the other stakes action down at Tampa for Mr. Byk, because he was there live on the ground, had the radio show there this week. I believe the radio show will move up to Ocala for the OBS sales. Monday and Tuesday at least. We'll check in with Mr. Byk on that. But as I say, about 10:30, Steve will join us. But right now, let's jump in and take a look at some of that action from yesterday at Aqueduct, highlighted by the Gotham, a mile, and at Aqueduct, obviously, it's a one-turn mile. So there are still question marks for these horses coming out of this, but they'll have a chance to answer some of those questions coming up in the wood if that's where they choose to go. But the Gotham yesterday was the return of Instagrand. He's going to be the number 6 horse. I had Mind Control on top. Mind Control, the number 3. I thought Mind Control, and you see Mind Control here coming up the rail, I thought I was in a pretty good spot. But keep your eye on the number 5 Chicklet. Sitting way back early was Heichel for Kieran McLaughlin. And look at this late run from Heichel as the top 3 there, Mind Control, number 6, Instagrand, and number 4, Much Better, kind of duke it out. He blows right by under Rajiv Murrah. Nice win for Heichel and Kieran McLaughlin. Kieran's only horse nominated to the Derby this year, so comes out of this race with 50 points, so moves up with the 50. You assume he's in. I'm virtually certain the 50 is enough to put him in. Currently sitting at number 3 on the Derby points list is Heichel after that performance yesterday. But again, it was a nice performance. Instagrand, if you're in his camp, I don't think that will discourage you. It's only the 3rd start of the career. Hadn't been seen since the middle of August. I said on the handicapping show yesterday, OTB Live, as I went off, I kind of took a little preview of this race. I was not that convinced on Instagram. I was willing to take a shot against. Again, I put Mind Control on top. I had Instagram right underneath. But Instagram, a nice win in June to break the maiden. I mean, nice, 10 lengths. And then the 10-length win in the Best Pal at Del Mar. But how often have we seen horses as 2-year-olds look phenomenal, maybe late spring, early to midsummer, and then the rest of the class catches up in the fall? Instagram looked great in those first 2 career starts, but never did move on to that late summer fall campaign where we got a better barometer. Had been off since the Best Pal win in the 2nd career start out at Del Mar. So I just had some question marks. Again, I had the horse in the 2nd spot, but I was willing to take a little bit of a shot against. The 3rd, to me, it was not a wow performance, obviously, because he finished 3rd. A wow would have been a win off a layoff like that in the trip across country. But as I say, if you were in the Instagram camp, I suppose you come out of that thinking off of that kind of a layoff. The 3rd was a decent little finish there as the even money favorite. For me, Instagram is kind of I had some question marks, and I wasn't thrilled with that. But again, length and a half back in 3rd. So, and he was right in the mix there with Mind Control and Much Better. Much Better, a little bit interesting coming in from Southern California for Bob Baffert, with Mike Smith on board. But again, for me, I used Mind Control. I thought that was an okay performance for Mind Control, the 2nd place finish. John Velasquez subsequently told the trainer Mind Control didn't see Heichel coming, and maybe if he had seen the horse coming, John thought he had enough horse that he may have been in a little more of a tussle, but Heichel just kind of blew by them all on the outside there with a nice performance. But it'll be interesting to see. Again, it was the 1-turn mile. So these horses still have question marks, 2 turns now heading into the Kentucky Derby. And we'll see how those questions are answered moving forward. Heichel, that was the longest the horse has been. Instagram, the longest the horse has been. Much Better, who ran 3rd, had tried some other mile races. And I had tried a mile on the turf at Santa Anita. That would be a 2-turn race. The mile at Santa Anita also. So Much Better has had some 2-turn experience, not over a mile, though. Mind Control tried the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and that 2 turns down at Churchill, a mile and 16th, had finished 7th in that race. So again, there are still some question marks as far as the distance for those performers yesterday. But my takeaway, Heichel looked good. I'm still kind of on board with Mind Control moving forward. Instagram, as I say, if you like the horse, that probably wasn't enough to knock you off because, again, it was 3rd career start off a long layoff, so you can make the argument that horse has the potential to move forward off of that effort. All right, let's go one race later on the card for the 3-year-old fillies. I was not enamored with the winner before the race. After the race, you look at it. But Espresso Shot, the winner, was not in my mix. A lot of folks like the horse. And it's not that I didn't like it. I liked others a little bit better. I was going to the outside, and I used Please Flatter Me, the 10 horse. That one winds up a little bit of a disappointing fourth for me. The favorite at 8-5 was Aura Moore, the number 12 horse, another one I had in my mix. Oxy Lady, the number 3 horse, who some folks were on board, winds up running second. But number 2, Espresso Shot, nice run here. Again, to get up on the outside and get it done. And this is a nice little New York bred. And a nice wind coming up late there, you see, is the number 3 Oxy Lady getting the late run. A little bit of a troubled trip for that one. Oxy Lady subsequently vanned off, but I was reading the Dave Grenig column, and he had talked to the trainer a little bit later on, and I guess Oxy Lady just came out with a little cut, but back at the barn was walking okay. But Oxy Lady was vanned off after the race. But she made a nice late run despite having some trouble. So you may make the argument going forward, if things turn out okay as far as the cut on the leg, she may be interesting coming out of this one. But at a $10.20 price, Espresso Shot, Eric Kensal on board, did look pretty good. As I say, I didn't have the horse in my mix yesterday. I had nothing really against. It was just I liked some others better. But came out of a win in the Eastview on December 29th, and now it's the 3-year-old debut, wins the Busher for a $250,000 purse, and does it pretty nicely. And I'm just looking here, buyer figure, preliminary buyer on the Gotham for Heichel was 95. The preliminary buyer for Espresso Shot was an 80. So takes a couple of points moving forward there. So again, nice little New York bred. Interesting, the connections, the owners said, well, we pretty much exclusively buy New York bred fillies, and so our goal is never the Kentucky Derby. Our goal is the Kentucky Oaks, and now they're on their way. Espresso Shot looking pretty good yesterday, although again at the 1-turn mile still has to answer some questions as far as 2 turns going forward, but looked pretty good yesterday in the Busher. A couple of other stakes on the card yesterday at Aqueduct, and we'll kick things off looking at the Stymie first and then go back to the Tom Fool. But the Stymie yesterday, boy, I had Sunny Ridge on top, and 8-5 on the morning line I thought was probably right with the 3 triple-digit buyers in the last 5 races. And when we talked to Andy Serling yesterday, he made the great point that the 3 triple digits were the lone 1-turn races in those last 5 tries. The other 2 where the horse didn't have the triple digits were 2-turn races, so seemed to appreciate 1 turn as opposed to 2 turns. I thought if you were going to play around a little bit, Title Ready, the Asmussen horse, could be interesting at a price. Well, I got that right. Title Ready at 7-1. The number 5 horse makes a good run here. I thought Title Ready might get it done. Shiver Me Timbers, the number 7, runs 3rd. Sunny Ridge disappoints a little bit at an eventual 2-1 running 4th. But Vino Rosso, who went off as the 9-5 favorite, betting public was absolutely on the money here. Ding-dong battle coming down the stretch with Title Ready. And as I said, I thought I might be right on the Asmussen horse at a price. And I guess I was if you like Vino Rosso, completed a nice little exacta there of over $44. But Vino Rosso in the seasonal debut, that was a nice run there, a nice ding-dong battle over Title Ready to get it done. Vino Rosso with a preliminary buyer, a pretty solid 98. And I'm just looking, that would tie a career best for Vino Rosso. He had that 98 in the Wood Memorial last year. And that may have been a lot of what people were looking at to make this horse the favorite. This horse was 2 for 2 over the Aqueduct Strip, including that Wood Memorial win. So it's certainly shown an affinity for Aqueduct, and that continued yesterday. They're looking for a nice campaign. You saw Mike Rapoli in the winner's circle after the race, and Dave Grenig talked to him, and Mike said, hadn't been seen since the Travers. So again, won the Wood Memorial, then winds up ninth in the Kentucky Derby, fourth in the Belmont, close up third in the Jim Dandy, and fifth in the Travers. And they went to the sidelines after the Travers, and Rapoli said, you know what, we got to the Travers, we knew we had a pretty good horse, we knew we wanted to race in 2019 as a 4-year-old. Where were we going to go after the Travers? So he said, I believe the quote was something like, we're not looking to win the Discovery at Aqueduct with this one. So they put the horse on the sidelines with the 4-year-old season in their sights, and nice kickoff to it. And it looks like coming up next for this one, they'll try the Carter, the Grade 1 Carter for Vina Rosso if everything goes according to plan. And finally, stakes action at Aqueduct. We'll take a look at the Tom Fool Grade 3 event for a couple $100,000. 6 furlongs the trip, and it is going to be Dushare getting it done pretty convincingly, looking like Secretariat here. Dushare is the number 2 horse, goes off at 5-1. Skylar's Scramjet, the 2-1 favorite, winds up 4th. Life in Shambles, number 1, runs 2nd. Bavaro at 3-1 runs 3rd. But look at Dushare here under Relu Gutierrez getting it done, and getting it done pretty convincingly in a salty field. So Dushare for Mike Maker had been in the barn of Linda Rice past couple of starts. Mike Maker, and this is a horse that now over $500,000 in the bank, and it would seem as a 6-year-old coming off of this effort. We'll see going forward, but it would look like this horse will be a little bit of a player perhaps in the sprint division. We'll see where they pick their spots exactly, but again, a nice looking performance yesterday in the Tom Fool for Dushare. All right, and let's go over, and again, we'll take a look at the couple of races from Turfway for the 3-year-olds that may play into the Derby and the Kentucky Oaks. We'll take a look first at the Jeff Ruby Stakes stake, because Jeff Ruby Stakes refers to the meet, Steaks. So it would be the Jeff Ruby Stakes stake. Grade 3 event, couple $100,000, mile and 1/8. But again, at Turfway, it's a synthetic surface. I said yesterday when I talked a little bit about this race, we've had Jeremy Plonk on in previous years and have kind of looked at this, and he's looked at trends, and oftentimes horses coming in from Gulfstream on the turf do well in this event. We really didn't have that kind of a scenario necessarily, but some like it Hot Brown had good turf experience and had won the Battaglia on this Turfway synthetic in the most recent start. That horse off of that scenario looked pretty good. Dynamic Racer was coming in off a 2nd in the Battaglia. Moonster will wind up running 3rd for Dale Romans. Comes up after an 8th place finish in the Sam Davis. Had not tried synthetic, but ran an okay 3rd in the Jeff Ruby yesterday. Big bombs underneath. Some like it Hot Brown, again, off of that Battaglia win, will be the number 10 horse and gets it done at 3-5. But bombs underneath. Dynamic Racer, the number 1 horse, 45-1. Moonster, the Dale Romans runner who runs 3rd, 59-1. With a $3.20 horse on top, the 50-cent trifecta, $296. But as you can see there, some like it Hot Brown just makes it look easy coming under the wire to get it done in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. But again, as I kind of alluded to when I led into this segment, it's hard to know exactly what to make of these as far as going forward to the Derby, at least a winner. The other two were, again, as bombs. It's hard to have much confidence to begin with. Moonster, 8th in the Sam Davis, and Dynamic Racer, who really, until hitting the synthetic, hadn't shown much. So what do you make of them, the Derby? And then some like it Hot Brown, who's a nice horse, well over $250,000 after yesterday, well over $300,000. But most of the career has been on the turf, and then the synthetic in the last 2 starts at Turfway. And I'm just looking because this race being on the synthetic, the points for the Derby have been reduced. So some like it Hot Brown sits currently at number 8 on the Derby list with 20 points. that 20 to me would be a bubble kind of position, because we get into coming up with, I think, the next round. The Rebel will still be a 50-point race, but then we'll jump up to 100-point races. So the potential is here for some like a Hot Brown to actually be pushed off the list points-wise. But also, I'm going to be curious as to where they kind of point the horse. I mean, if you get enough points, do you try the Derby anyway? We'll see. But some like it Hot Brown, one way or the other, is going to have a nice career ahead, whether they choose to try the dirt path and try the Kentucky Derby, or just keep to 3-year-old grass stakes, which, again, I love that subdivision, and there'll be plenty of opportunities if that's the direction they decide to go. Bourbonnette Oaks, again, similar scenario in that being on the synthetic, it's hard to know exactly what you're going to get going forward from some of these, but the winner here will be number 2, Naughty Joker, 2-1 favorite, number 10, Fun Finder second, and number 4, New Rue runs third. 9-1 and 26-1 underneath in the second and third spots. But again, the favorite at 2-1 was Naughty Joker. Now this one's a Wesley Ward runner for Ken and Sarah Ramsey, and does have a win on the dirt at Churchill Downs. So given that, this one going forward to the Kentucky Oaks maybe has a little bit more of a future that you could hang your hat on as compared to some like at Hot Brown on the boys' side. There is a dirt win already on the resume. The number a little bit light perhaps, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this one take the shot if the opportunity becomes available going forward to the Kentucky Oaks. We'll see how it works out. But again, that synthetic surface makes for a quirky situation as far as these horses moving on to Churchill Downs. But it was a nice day at Turfway yesterday. Nice stakes card supporting that 3-year-old stakes, both of the 3-year-old stakes really towards the end of the card, and some nice stakes underneath as well. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll do a little handicapping, and then a little bit later on, we'll be joined by our friend Steve Byk. He was at Tampa yesterday, and we'll hit on the Tampa Stakes with Steve. All of that coming up. Stay tuned.
The road to the Kentucky Derby ends with the most exciting 2 minutes in racing, but getting there begins long before then. With 34 prep races that span 15 tracks, the best place to watch, wager, and win is Capital OTB and OTB TV. Upcoming Derby prep races include the Gotham from Aqueduct, the Tampa Bay Derby, and the San Felipe from Santa Anita. So for in-depth coverage and expert analysis of all the Derby prep races, stay with Capital OTB and OTB TV.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Not at the track and not near a computer? No problem. Wager with Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system and you'll never get shut out again. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system is quick, simple to use, and guarantees your wagers are accurate and placed on time. For more information, visit capitalotb.com or call Capital OTB's customer service hotline at 800-292-BETS. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system. Never get shut out again.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrill, we did a little stakes recap, now a little handicapping, and again, towards the bottom of the hour, just a few minutes away, we'll reach out to our friend Steve Byk, who I believe is on his way to Ocala as we speak for a couple of days of action for the radio show, Sirius and XM's At the Races, from up that way as the sales will be underway this week. But handicapping segment, I thought I'd look at my play of the day. It didn't make it onto the one sheet, but I had a pick 5 play of the day today, and so I'll just kind of go over that at Aqueduct. And I hit one the other day, modest little $36 ticket, and after scratches, there was a couple of 4-horse fields and a 5-horse field. The ticket cost $36. I was happy with the $157 return given the scratches. I'm just in these Aqueduct cards as I handicap for the sheet and look for a play of the day. I'm just kind of looking to find something to kind of jump into and feel maybe there's a little bit of value there. We'll see what we can do. I have a pick 5 today that is fairly inexpensive. I don't jump in with a super amount of confidence, but again, it's just trying to find a little something, and I have a single in the mix. We'll see if we can get through that one and make it work. And I'll give you the rundown of the numbers as we go along, and then I'll go over that again at the end. But the opener, again, early pick 5 at Aqueduct. First leg, race number 1, I'll use the 5 and the 2. I have it 5, 2, 6, 3. But Delta Gamma, tossed in a clunk or 2 back. That's always a little bit of a concern, but all the rest of the races were okay. And that clunker, there was an excuse. So it's such an aberration. You add in the excuse, you have to think, all right, it's a legitimate excuse, and we'll get closer to what we saw in the other 3 races. And what we saw there seems to be good enough in this relatively weak field. But Delta Gamma is a Linda Rice runner, the number 5, and the number 2 color chart, also a Linda Rice runner, who put in a pretty good number in the career debut. That number, again, stacks up pretty well against the rest of the field. It was only the first career start, now moves maiden special weight to maiden claiming, so I wanted to put both of them in the mix. So again, the opening leg of this pick 5, we'll use the 5 and the 2. Race number 2, I'll go 3 deep. I have a 2, 5, 6, and 1. And again, this is the Aqueduct pick 5, leg 2, race 2, 2, 5, and 6. Sweet August Lady, Chad Brown runner. I kind of like the angle here. Laid off from October until January. Now it's had a January start and a February start. Both of those were 6.5 furlongs. 2 back ran pretty nicely to win for a 25 tag. Got into an ambitious starter allowance last time and didn't do so well. Gets back in for the tag, but also I like to stretch out to the mile off the 2 sprints to start the season. So Manny Franco on board, Sweet August Lady on top. Stella B goes out for Chris Engelhardt off a nice win down at Parks. First time for Chris Engelhardt, though, was claimed out of that Parks win. And Engelhardt does pretty well in the claiming game, and it just seems like this might be a crafty claim and a good spot for that first start off the claim. And Salty Smile. Last couple of numbers showed some incremental improvement. Like the top pick, there's a little scenario of a couple of sprints and now stretching to the mile. I think this one probably has to step it up a little bit, but I think that's possible given the scenario. I didn't want to leave that one out at potentially a little bit of a price. So race 2 at Aqueduct, we'll use the 2, the 5, and the 6. I'll take a shot here with the single American Mandate in race 3. Aqueduct's race 3, I have it 1, 3, 5, and 2. But American Mandate, the number 1 horse, is Steve Asmussen runner, who just seems to have an edge on these off of the last 2 numbers. Close up second, 2 back, broke the maiden last time in a kind of a gutsy performance. Does like the lead and potentially is a need for the lead type. But the race 3 back, the horse kind of stalked a little bit and had a little oomph at the end. We'll see. From the 1 hole, I hope this horse doesn't kind of ding-dong it too early. But I don't see anybody else in here who can really, the 2 horse does also have some early speed. But boy, you have to think, will Asmussen say to the other jock, hey, go out and really duel with my favorite. So I'm hoping that American Mandate, if the horse does choose to take the lead, and I certainly think that's possible from the 1 hole, probable even, hope that one goes out and just kind of can get a fairly easy first quarter of a mile and continue on through the 7 furlongs. I think the horse has an edge. Now, again, as I say, I'm not super confident on this sequence, but I wanted to keep the ticket modest because I don't know what the value will be overall. So we'll single American Mandate in that third leg. Again, I do think he has a legitimate edge on this bunch, but the pace scenario will dictate things a little bit. Fourth race at Aqueduct, we'll use the 6 and the 2. I have it 6-2, the 1 entry, and 7. The number 6 is Not About Nail. Nice win last time, claimed out of that win, goes into the Eddie Barker barn. He does okay first off the claim with a limited sample, but more importantly, I think it's just at the right level. Had been racing down the page against better, dropped in for that 10 tag last time and got the win, now at 12-5, which again is lighter than most of the races on the page. So I think still in the comfort zone class-wise. Are we having fun yet? The number 2 underneath, and I'll use that one as well, coming off a win and a claim at the 10 level. And like the top pick, I think at this 12-5 level is still well within the class comfort zone. So race number 4, leg number 4, we'll use the 6 and the 2. And then I always like to, if I can, getting into the last leg or two, go a little bit deeper. And so given what we've done so far, we'll go 4 deep in here and have a little coverage if we do make it through the first 4 legs. I'll use all 4 of mine, 3, 7, 1, and 5 in race 5 at Aqueduct. Wildcat Bell, nice, 4 race win streak coming into this, claimed out of the last race. And you would think there's a little bit of a story here because claimed from trainer Dave Canizzo, but back in the barn of trainer Dave Canizzo. So maybe it's just the new owner said, you know what, you got the horse figured out, you keep him. But do know, all of that was last April. So there's some question marks on the return, but if this horse comes back ready to run, and that February 23rd minute flat workout seems to indicate the horse will be back on its toes. This horse, again, if it comes back ready to run, seems to have an edge on these, but again, may need one. So we're a little deeper in here. Cool as you like in the second spot. 2 of the last 3 numbers really stack up nicely with this group. And then you add in some class relief. That makes Cool as you like dangerous. Jump for Joy in the 3rd spot off a series of nice improving numbers. Claimed out of a win last time, and the trainer does well off the claim. And Satin Sheets, who I think on a best effort can be right in the mix with this bunch. So again, we'll use all 4 of ours, 3, 7, 1, and 5. And again, I want to grab a pen, and if you want to write down this sequence, pick 5 at Aqueduct today, the early pick 5, kicking off with race number 1. We'll use the 5 and the 2 with 2, 5, 6, with 1, with 6, 2, with 3, 7, 1, 5. Pick 5 play at Aqueduct, early pick 5 at Aqueduct on this Sunday afternoon. All right, let's take another break. When we come back, Steve Byk will join us. He was live at Tampa yesterday, so we'll get some of his thoughts on the Tampa action, including the Tampa Bay Derby. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
It may be cold in the Northeast, but in South Florida, the action's hot. This winter, be part of the championship meet at Gulfstream Park, where the fields are deep and the payouts are big. With some of the most competitive turf racing in America, Gulfstream Park is your winter destination for the finest in championship thoroughbred horse racing. And if you're looking for the top jockeys and best trainers, you'll find them all at Gulfstream Park. So play it today. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here.
Visit Rivers Casino and Resort, the Capital Region's only destination for live table game action and the hottest new slots paying out millions. And they're off. Horse betting is now at Rivers Casino and Resort with Capital off-track betting terminals and live tellers located just off the gaming floor at Van Slyck's. Get in on all the action at Rivers Casino and Resort.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Happy to be joined now, as promised before the break, Steve Byk, Sirius and XM's At the Races. Spent part of this week down at Tampa Bay Down, so who better to cover that action from yesterday? Steve, good morning.
How you doing?
Very good. And you texted me, and I guess we have a picture ready. Races this week and yesterday, but a little relaxation today.
Some would say it's relaxing every day when you do nothing but go from racetrack to racetrack. Yeah, why not? I think we got a little window here, and heading up to Ocala. We're going to broadcast from the OBS sale tomorrow and Tuesday, and then back to Clearwater on Wednesday for the HPPA convention, Wednesday, Thursday,
nice.
Friday. So, yeah, nice, a perfect harmony, actually, to put all these elements together.
The picture, is that the hotel pool?
Yes, it is.
Nice. You aren't tempted to go to the beach?
Well, where am I? I'm not that far from the beach, I guess, but I've been waiting around for you. I mean, where go to the beach? I got a brand new phone. I don't want to get sand on the phone.
There you go. Very good. And I also, speaking of pictures, and they may have pulled it up, but if they didn't, people can check out your Twitter account. I wanted to tip my cap because you're new, and I'm not sure. I guess it's the Twitter the official title, the profile picture that you've added, you and Tina. Yeah, there we go. We put it up. I laughed when I saw it. That is a great picture.
I was in Charleston about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it just makes me laugh.
The look on your face.
Yeah. Everybody loves it. So that's the new. Who's luckier than me?
Thanks.
You got to be kidding.
That's great. I love it. And you are a lucky guy. She's fabulous. But let's jump into it yesterday. And before we get into the races, I was on with you on Wednesday, and I said I'm envious. I haven't made a trip down to Tampa in too long now. I got to get down there. One of my favorite tracks. And the facility is nice in that on a daily basis, it's just sized right, so it seems like there's a nice buzz in the building. That said, Tampa Bay Derby Day can be a little tight quarters, a little elbow to elbow. It was probably, I was thinking this morning, the date, I'm bad with this, but it had to be probably at least 15 years ago. I was there for the Tampa Bay Derby, downstairs in the grandstand, watching one of the races on a TV, just with the regular Joes, and I looked in front of me, among the regular Joes, it was Davy Jones from the Monkees standing there enjoying Tampa Bay Derby Day. But talk a little bit about yesterday, the weather, and what was the crowd like?
Surprisingly, my only other Tampa Derby experience was the Street Sense Any Given Saturday Epic, and that was a day I just remember it being nearly impossible to move around. But that was also a day where the 2-year-old champion was making his 2-year-old debut. So that was a little unique and a little special. The attendance they announced was 10,000 plus. So I mean, it was a great atmosphere. It was busy as can be everywhere, and it was very comfortable. It wasn't thronged where you really couldn't enjoy it and couldn't make a bed or buy a beverage, whatever. So no, it was idyllic. It's a wonderful place. I saw Mrs. Fair, and she's an affable host. Ruby, of course, the general manager these last 10 plus years, has really done a nice job. I got a chance to finally get Andrew Dembski on the show, and he's terrific.
Yeah.
And I know that some people, when he burst on the scene with his shades persona, he's a very, very savvy kid that has really cultivated that image. But he's a solid handicapper and has good opinions. And he came from Hofstra and was a television broadcast major. And I sent out on Twitter the other day, after he was on Friday, links to 8 video small movies that he made while at Canterbury. It's called The Connection, and they are so well done. And he did everything. He taped all the material, he did all the editing, etc. And they're really worth watching. I came away really impressed with him. And he, of course, works at Presque Isle during the summer into the fall. So he's really cultivated a perfect niche for himself. It's always fun to go to Tampa, and I think I could sort of make this, I could maybe tie this in somehow to a OBS/Tampa visit. And I really selected right Seth because the last several years I've gone out to California for Byk Cap and San Felipe. So obviously making this particular route this year turned out to be fortuitous, certainly.
Yeah, and I will second your opinion, Andrew Dembski. He was a regular with us when we had the weekday show, but I have him now occasionally. Had him yesterday, in fact. But I agree, and being a Presque Isle, he usually makes a run up the turnpike to Saratoga. So a couple summers ago, had him on the backstretch up there. But we've touted those pieces he did at Canterbury as well. And as you say, people look at the shades and the outlandish coats, and I always say, God bless him. You got to pull yourself away from the field a little bit. And so I tip my cap to him for being smart about that. Let's go to the races and talk a little bit about some of that stakes action yesterday, get some of your opinions. Let's start right out with the highlight, the Tampa Bay Derby. I liked Win. Had Mike Trombetta on the show yesterday. And I thought off of that Pasco win, he'd be interesting. The question mark was the distance. I thought well-defined coming out of the Sam Davis, the Sam Davis win would be interesting. And Zenden, at maybe a little bit of a price, was in my mix as well. But I said when I talked about the race, I didn't use Tacitus, but just on the scenario, Judd Mott and Bill Mott off a couple of starts and a maiden win in November to come back for the 3-year-old debut in the Tampa Bay Derby. If there was a little bit of value there, you probably had to back up a little bit with Tacitus. And sure enough, number 10 Tacitus, Jose Ortiz on board, will win. Outshine the Todd Pletcher runner, runs second, and Win. Went off as the 7-5 favorite for Trombetta and runs third in here with Zenden fourth. But again, just on the scenario, the Judd Mott runner and Bill Mott kind of, hey, let's make our 3-year-old debut off a maiden special win as a 2-year-old and go to the Tampa Bay Derby. You knew you had to pay at least a little bit of attention, and sure enough, Tacitus gets it done in the Tampa Bay Derby. What were your thoughts?
Well, obviously the horses that were coming to the wire together about the 16th hole, really any of the top finishes could win. Tacitus had certainly improved and made a nice leap forward. I mean, this is a Tappet colt out of closed hatches. This wasn't, and you could say Mott, Judd Mott, that's fine. But this is a horse that was absolutely bred in the purple, and you'd have to expect it was going to be some kind of a horse. And why not start out here? And clearly, Mott has been balancing Tacitus and Country House and Show and the big horse in this role. So this made as much sense as anything. And this is a nice big horse that is going to continue to improve. He got somewhat fortunate to get through in this. I mean, look at his trip and Win-Win's trip. They were together on the backstretch, and Rat Ortiz chose to go wide, and he was 5 wide, and Jose chose to go inside, and it paid off. The horse that probably ran the best among the 3 close finishers actually outshine. I mean, I heard people talking about the red-hot pace, and the collapse. This wasn't a collapse, really. If it was a collapse, then Zenden should have been last. If that's the scenario, and instead he was beaten like 4 lengths for everything. So it wasn't entirely a collapse, and there certainly had been a day. It looked like it was a day where speed was certainly holding. So there's a lot of different things at play, and the top 3 finishers in particular are all very credible going forward to whatever they're going to do, and they're all going to make a next start, the Wood and the Bluegrass and the Arkansas Derby. So we'll watch for all 3. Win was a little interesting in terms of the way he ran, because I thought he was a little further back than Trombetta had, I think, wanted and had expressed to Rat Ortiz. And he was left with a little bit too much to do. At the same time, he was finishing well again. Yeah. And I know that people are going to say, well, he's a closing sprinter and he should go back to 1 turn. And I'm going to say no. I think that, in fact, letting him do what he wants to do, which is be a little bit more one pace and kind of grind along, I think will pay off at 1 mile and an eighth and maybe beyond. So, they'll keep going. Mrs. Weber was mildly disappointed, but certainly don't forget that he had been off for 7 weeks, and it's been Trumpetta's plan to have 2 starts if they're going to make Derby. So he'll get another shot. Outshine was very good here, and is a horse that had been making a good impression for those watching Dave Norton, who a lot of us know, Pacing Dave, Saratoga and from Florida. He's been doing the clocking and has been very impressed with Outshine, and I think that there's a lot to like. So watch for Outshine wherever he's going to turn up, and obviously Tacitus, he's going to come in a little bit more lightly raced, clearly, given that this was a 3rd start, there'll be a 4th start, but this is the new normal. The other horses in here to talk about, the horse that's going to be dirtied up as could be was the second choice, 7-2 Dreammaker, and everybody's going to think, Dreammaker reverted back to his antics. No, he got sawed off and bounced around early and was absolutely mired. And Giroux, who had a terrible day, just kind of went through the motions at that point, and Cassie was really disappointed because everything was pointing to a nice performance from Dreammaker. So they'll have to regroup and come again. Well defined. I was a little surprised that he folded the tent as quickly as he did, and I think Kathleen O'Connell now is going to have to acknowledge that he's a middle distance, 1-turn type, 7/8 to a 1-turn mile. We'll see what Kathleen does. He's certainly in good hands. But a very satisfying. I mean, it was a great feature and capped a very nice day at Tampa.
Let's go back to the Florida Oaks. The race just prior, the 3-year-old fillies on the grass. I was a little bit surprised that Concrete Rose went off as the favorite, the eventual winner, but the betting public was having trouble there. The favorite at 3-1. There were a couple other 3-1 horses in there, 9-2. So it wasn't like the betting public jumped on with a lot of confidence, but Concrete Rose goes off as the favorite. The number 5 horse gets it done. Running second, blowout number 7 for Chad Brown and Peter Brandt in the second career start. And Winter Sunset, the number 3, runs third at 9-2. But again, a nice little performance from the winner. As I say, I was a little bit surprised, but the betting public nailed it with Concrete Rose.
The board was all over the place, actually, and there were horses kind of going up and floating down and back up again. Stellar Agent was basically at the end was vying for favoritism, and she was nowhere to be found. She was very eager in her first start back since stuff, and she kind of an in and out day, obviously, for Jorge Abreu. I think he was a little surprised by how that went. And that's, again, part of Giroux's lousy day. Meanwhile, while everybody awaits newspaper record coming back, there's a lot of good 3-year-old turf fillies. And, Winter Sunset that comes out of the tremendous Darby Dan, the Phillips family, Memories of Silver, Fountainhead female family. She ran very well, I thought, and Blowout is going to obviously be a major force going forward. The other Chad, Lefebvre, ran very solidly. I mean, this is a really good set. I think who disappointed a little bit was Elsa. And you talk about the crowd and the betting being pretty savvy. I mean, they get to Rusty Arnold and to the Ashbrook filly. They were coolish on Elsa. Kind of came in with a look, I thought, and she had it at 7-1, and was very meek. She made like a little move, and this was a race that I think produced a lot of nice runners going forward. The 3-year-old filly turf division and the 3-year-old boy sprinters, virtually the entire field from the Gotham. Those are all sprinters. If you aren't sure, they're all sprinters. There's a couple of divisions while we wait for the glamour boys, for the 2-year-old boys. When we wait for the route goers to get to 1 mile and an eighth and flex their muscles. In the meantime, some other divisions are looking pretty good.
Let's move backwards as well to the Hillsborough. These were some nice runners in here. I had Hawksmoor on top. I had Rimska in the second spot. They're going to flip-flop here. Rimska, the number 7, will make a nice late run and kind of run away to win by a chart margin of 2. Hawksmoor gutsily holds on to second by a nose over On the Moon Again. Rimska and On the Moon Again, both Chad Brown horses. Hawksmoor for Arnaud Delacour. But for me, it was the 3 logicals, and the betting public agreed. 8-5 was Rimska, 5-2 was Hawksmoor, and 3-1 was On the Moon Again. So again, it kind of played out logically in the Hillsborough.
It did, and I think I tried to elevate On the Moon Again a little bit, and she ran fine. Hawksmoor had no excuse, and that's her farewell performance, by the way. Her again, kind of like Paulie. So she's going to go off to be bred, and Rimska, continues on, and really since her return last year, she's been very competitive. I knew she was going to be a short price. I kind of was trying to get On the Moon Again and Viva Vegas. The horse that had a big buzz was that Good Year for Roses. I used her defensively just because there seemed to be like a real interest in her, and she didn't. I mean, she ran, she chased, and then she backed up. So that was weird. I didn't know what. I still don't know what everybody was. What they were buzzing about.
I used that one down in the 4th spot without a lot of confidence, that's about ran 9th in the field of 10. All right, and let's take a look. Also, a couple other stakes, and the Challenger was interesting because Flame Away was making the second start of the season. Nice little 3-year-old for Mark Casse last year, and in fact had won the Sam Davis on this track before running second in the Tampa Bay Derby. The 4-year-old debut was a third-place finish in the Mine Shaft over at Fairgrounds. So again, seemed to have maybe a little edge on this bunch in the ungraded Challenger. Cassie's Wonder Gadot running second in her seasonal debut over at Oaklawn at the end of the week. And so Flame Away comes in, and again, stepping out of the Grade 3 Mine Shaft, maybe a little bit easier on Saturday. And Flame Away, the number 1 horse, does get it done. Has to work a little bit, though. Half a length victory over Kelly Begg's Captain, but 3-2, Flame Away gets it done for Mark Casse.
Yeah, this was interesting because it didn't really unfold the way you would have expected on paper. With Jay's Way on the outside and Kelly Begg's Captain, the 2 sprinters stretched out that they were going to hook up. But it was obvious from inside that Casse wanted Jose Ortiz, who had ridden him before, rode him in the Jim Dandy. And it was clear that Casse must have told Jose, let's go get him. To me, that was a little bit of a surprise. And as a result, Jay's Way was put immediately into a chasing mode, and it showed that he's a horse that, number 1, wants to stay short and needs the lead. The horse that I thought was going to be a big beneficiary out of a speed duel between Kelly Begg and Jay's Way was going to be Bourbon Resolution, and he opened like 8-1, I think, morning run, and opened 2-1, and he was very mild, and he was chasing and in a good spot, and really offered very little. Up front, meanwhile, Kelly Begg's Captain, that is part of this John Terranova, he's been a terror this year.
Yeah.
Everywhere he runs, it's unbelievable how well he's running with all divisions, all regions, both coast of Florida and back in New York.
Yeah, I'm just looking, and I didn't realize this. I'm looking at the Daily Racing Form stats. The Tampa meet, he's 41%.
If you missed the John Terranova story, but then you missed it. I mean, he's been unbelievable. And that includes back home with the New York press that stayed north. Kelly Beggs was on a big roll here. This is he was going for, I think, his fourth straight, I think, and ran great. Ran absolutely great. Flame Away, if you watch this carefully, I'm terrible being able to identify lead changes, but this one was very evident. You want to see what happens when a horse that is laboring on the wrong lead. And it's one of the things, obviously, that in all these performances of Flame Away and his fans, know that he's a horse that doesn't like to get passed. And you can see that it looks like at mid-stretch that he's going to get beat. And then finally changes lead, and that's when he reexerts. And, a little combination of silly legs getting a little bit short, off on the stretch out to a mile and a 16th. But still, great performance all around and flame away, little confidence builder. Yeah, agreed. It was a step back from the horses that he faced in New Orleans. But he's just a nice horse. And of course, it was part of the storyline of 4-year-olds coming back yesterday. Dino Rosso with a terrific performance. Hey, that was if that's a harbinger of things to come, he's going to have a good year. And Rewrite came back, looking at Lee came back yesterday. So all of last year's 3-year-olds are coming back, admittedly to mixed results. But, everybody's storyline is that, there was nothing but retirement. No, there's quite a few 4-year-olds out there that are getting their seasons going.
Finally, let's look at the Columbia, because I love this subdivision of 3-year-olds on the turf. Given that when I handicapped yesterday, I said, I don't know whether any of these have kind of signaled themselves as stars in this subdivision, but I think there are a few of them that have run well enough. A good performance would put them right in the mix as we get into this nice 3-year-old turf season into the spring and summer, where there are lots of opportunities, and it's a fun division. And Digital Age was one of those who, coming off of the career debut, where if you're a buyer guy, the buyer was a little light, but given the connections, Chad Brown and Klarovich had the ability to kind of step forward and stamp himself as a player in this division, and certainly did. Went off, surprisingly with that buyer, went off as the 6-5 favorite. But again, the connections at Tampa, we're watching the stretch run here, though. He's the number 8. This is a great late run to get up and win by a chart margin at just ahead. But given sitting back in the back of the pack and making that late run, impressive performance under Irod Ortiz, Digital Age in the Columbia.
Well, and what's notable here is the pace certainly wasn't, it was moderate, and Digital Age a terrific ride by Irod Ortiz to win, and obviously this is going to be a nice horse. The one to watch coming out of this, though, that Bluegrass Parkway, Jose put him in a bit of a jackpot, and had him kind of mired. Bluegrass Parkway has had a couple of trips that obscure him. Keep an eye. Put him in your horse to watch list or your stable mail, and Bluegrass Parkway is going to win a big race or two this year.
All right, before we let you go, we've alluded to it a couple of times, but just give us your thoughts. The Gotham yesterday, the nice late run by Heichel. Obviously, there was quite an early pace in there, 22, 44, 109. I liked Mind Control. I thought I had a pretty good shot late in the stretch, as that one was dueling with Instagram and much better. But Heichel for Kieran McLaughlin looked very, very good yesterday in the Gotham. What were your thoughts there?
Well, that's a complete collapse. And Heichel, I know that there's people saying, oh, he's going to be great in the wood. Oh, no. Relax. This is a horse that doesn't want to go much beyond this mile, and we'll see what Kieran does. You got 50 points, and you're in a tough spot. At Shadwell, they're going to want to go on, and so forth. But his future is in the Alan Jerkins. This whole field's future is in the Alan Jerkins. I mean, Instagram is another one that's going to go on. He was a bit of a bicycle in there. And Castellano, it looked on coming into the turn that he was going to basically back out of it. It looked like he had nothing, and he re-engaged. The horse that ran incredibly was much better. The Baffert horse was spectacular in here. I mean, for him to get beat a length and only give it up in the last 30 yards, that was some performance. 22, 44, 109. That was exceptional. He's one, as I referenced. I said earlier, there's a lot of 3-year-olds focus, and watch what happens. Don't forget, you got Buccio and Call Paul that are heading for the Bayshore. So the 3-year-old sprint division is really starting to take shape, and it's taking shape earlier than it normally does. And you just hope that some of these horsemen and connections, read the tea leaves properly and understand that they really don't need to be going a mile and an eighth. I'm sure some will try one more time. But, there's a lot of sprinters in that group, and we'll see where they go. And mind control, he really didn't. He looked like a winner at the 16th hole. So we'll see. We'll see what Greg Sacco. I know they'll go forward too, but long term, there's a lot of sprinters in there.
Yeah, the siren call of the Kentucky Derby is often too attractive to avoid until the really can put the brakes on. Steve, we'll let you go, but before we do, just again, preview what's coming up on the radio side this week.
Well, I'll be at OBS tomorrow. It'll be fairly quiet at OBS. I mean, the sale itself starts on Tuesday. The sale goes Tuesday, Wednesday. This is the first 2-year-old and training sale of the year. And then in 2 weeks, the scene will shift to the Fasig-Tipton Gulfstream sale, but which is a high-profile, elite kind of a sale. There's some nice horses that typically come out of this too. Tomorrow we'll do some recapping, and we'll have some signers and sales prep type people slip in, but a lot of breeders and owner types on Tuesday, and then I'll shift tack down to Clearwater for the HBPA convention. And the HBPA convention was going to be good and provocative under any scenario, but given what's going on and the circumstance at Santa Anita, I think it's going to be particularly important, and I'm looking forward to talking to any number of not just HBPA connections, but also some other industry types that will be in attendance. This is a circumstance that is inexcusable, and it basically has been authored by just a couple of people with a narrow focus that created an absolute disaster for the industry. And it's remarkable how the industry is taking the body blows, and yet the parties that are really responsible and made this scenario even set it up that it could happen. They are just making it worse and worse with every single passing day, with their pronouncements and what seems to be an attempt to shift blame to the horsemen. It's really quite remarkable, and I'm just amazed. The management involved was incredibly irresponsible, and that goes back to pushing out Camerly. It goes back to getting Dennis Moore to the point where he just quit and had enough of them. It's inexcusable with the cheap racing that they shove down everybody's throat. It's remarkable. And they are very bad stewards of the game, and they're making everybody pay for it.
I have a link on Equidaily, upcoming National HBPA Convention, finding ways to do things better. So yeah, very timely. Be interested to hear what you get from your guests in regards to that HBPA convention. I'm told we have one more picture. I didn't see that, but if the guys want to put up the, you had another, the picture of the group down there at Tampa. And
wow. They were, let me tell you, they're very disappointed. They've been waiting ever since, it was 6 years ago. They've been waiting. Every year they look for you. Where's Seth? They said to me, where's our Seth? And they said they abused you like a pinata. They dragged you to every bar, every good mill, every nook and cranny, Derby Lane, show parlays.
Nobody has to drag me to Derby Lane. I'm very happy to go over to the dog track.
Well, they're looking. They want to know where's the Seth. They think that they just scared you away. That you're never coming back to Old.
As I said on Wednesday on the radio show, and again this morning, I was envious. I got to get back down there. Just looking at the guys in short sleeves and shorts, just got to get down to Tampa, one of my favorite tracks. And again, you did a nice job on the radio show down there this week. We appreciate the visit this morning. And Steve, travel safe this week.
I appreciate it, Seth. We'll see you soon.
All right, Steve Byk, and again, he was at Tampa live yesterday, so got some first-hand thoughts on the stakes action yesterday at Tampa, his thoughts on the Gotham as well. Nice stakes action yesterday with highlights at the various tracks leading into potentially the Derby and the Oaks, but nice undercard stakes as well. Do want to remind you, and I have it here just quickly before we wrap up. Don't forget, there is a future pool, Kentucky Derby future pool, and I looked at the updated odds last night, and let me just, the favorite, the single entrant favorite is game winner at 5-1. Do not, at this point, in March, take 5-1. Improbable is 7-1. I will tell you a short price that I do think is worthwhile. That's All Others. All Others is 8-1. I'm going to jump in with some All Others because All Others at this point includes Heichel and Tacitus. So you have two winners from yesterday in the All Others pool at 8-1. I think that's a generous price there. 44-1 on Vekoma. I might jump in for a little piece of that. Couple other Mind Control at 68-1 after yesterday. I'll have to think about that. Maybe a couple of bucks. Our friends at West Point, Gunmetal Gray at 42-1. I think looks a little bit interesting. Their Galilean though has gone down to 19. 19's a little short. Nothing against Galilean, but at this point, again March just to make it into the gate. I'm looking 20, 25, more likely 30-1 or higher before I'm going to get excited. Country House at 33-1 from Bill Mott, another one. But again, don't forget the future pool will close later today, so take a look at that and maybe have a little fun on Derby Day with some live future tickets. Once again, promos and events today at the Clubhouse Racebook, $100 win-a-bet. Love to see you down here. 711 Central Avenue in Albany. 1% bonus on your Aqueduct wagers today. More information at the website, capitalotb.com. Check out the Tourney Bets link. Look at the calendar and see if you'd like to jump in. And as I say, different price points. There are free contests available. Chance to win the NHC will be coming up as well. So check it out. capitalotb.com. Click on the Tourney Bets link. Coming up a little bit later this week, the Bounty Bet returns, well over $1,500 up for grabs. That'll be Friday afternoon with a late pick four at Aqueduct. But again, save up a little dough so you can jump in with that. All you have to do is play that late pick four at Aqueduct with your Capital OTB Bet account, and you're in for a shot at the bounty. That's coming up on Friday. And a Fan Appreciation Day, not a Fan Appreciation Day, let me change that, a bankroll. An on-the-road bankroll on Saturday. Coming up Saturday this week, Saturday the 16th, Sully will be at the Uncle Sam Lanes in Troy with a $300 bankroll. They're always a lot of fun. So again, mark that on your calendar and swing by Uncle Sam Lanes next week, Saturday, March 16th. All right, want to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park champions start here. I'm late. I'm going to get out of here. It was a big show today with a lot of stakes action to cover from yesterday, but I'll be back in an hour or so with OTB Live on this Sunday afternoon. In the meantime, fire up your accounts and get ready to go out for this afternoon because, as I say, we'll be back in about an hour, and we'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.